Welcome to a Boxing Insider special. This week we're at Queensbury HQ speaking to the main man himself, Frank Warren. Now, this interview is made up of 3 parts, so make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Frank, thanks so much for welcoming us to your office here at Queensbury HQ. I wanted to take you back, though, to your first ever meeting with Tyson Fury. Can you remember when that was?
I met him when he was very, very young, when he first started out. It was just a brief, meeting. Obviously, he's a very big guy, and you don't forget somebody his size. And he seemed, as he is, a very, very confident person. But it wasn't too much of an exchange between us. It's probably like a hello job, and that was it. The first proper dealing I had with him was the first time he fought Derek Chisora for the British title. It was on a Mick Hennessy show, and it was at Wembley. And I fancied Derek in the fight. I did fancy Derek, and anyway, Derek came in. He was on the way, and he was so heavy it was untrue. And there'd been a few bits of stuff going backwards and forwards up to the weigh-in, and at the press conference with Derek, not against me, with Derek, with the other side and Derek, and some unsavoury things were being said. And cut a long story short, fight was on. Place was, I don't think there was 1,500 people at Wembley. It was absolutely empty, and it was a decent fight. It came in overweight, Derek, and Tyson beat him. I think he had a good 8th round, Derek, and that was it. So that was it. He won the fight, and after the fight, once all the tension and everything's out of it, he came over and he was really polite. Really not, and I thought, oh, he's all right, him, because I never really had expect. I said, yeah, I said, good luck with your future, etc., etc., and that was it. The next time I met him was, Box Nation was, we had that up, which still is running. It was up and running, and it was around Christmas time, probably about 6-7 years ago now. When I'm thinking back, about 7 years ago, I had a partner in Box Nation who's passed away now, Bill Ives, who owned Raynham Steel. And I was talking to him, and I was reading a paper about yet another fight had fallen out for Tyson. And you look at his record, and he was very, very inactive. I mean, if he had 2 fights a year, that was about it. So a mutual friend we had knew his uncle Peter, who at that time was training him. And made contacts, and we met. I always remember we met him at St Pancras, the hotel there by the station. It was over the Christmas. They came down, him and Peter, and I just wanted to do the deal. And I had the numbers in my head, and they were much more than we would be paying for a fight. But I really fancied doing the deal. So I said to him, look, I've got Derek Chisora in the number 1 spot, or number 2, where it was at the time in the WBO. You come with us, get you a couple of fights, and I think I can guarantee that you fight Chisora, and the winner will get a shot at the world title. That was the deal. So that was agreed. We shook hands. I said, what about what's happening with Mick Hennessy? Because we had a bit of a thing going on with Mick Hennessy over the rights that we had for the Box Nation had for the Klitschko fight, if you remember, when he had all these problems. So we shook our hands on a deal, and that was it. So we gave him a fight. He won that. Then he was going to have another one, and for some reason it didn't happen. Anyway, we got to the Chisora fight, and that was on at the Excel in London. Bit of a chaotic night. I mean, the security was appalling that night there. Anyway, I fancied Derek. Derek was come up a run of about 5 really good wins. I mean, when I say good wins, world-ranked guys, in the top 10 or 15, and looking good. Got yourself in shape. So I thought, there's nothing in this, and I leaned towards him because he'd have been more the active fighter. Well, Tyson just done a job on him. I mean, he did not win a second of any round, not a second. And he was switching from orthodox to southpaw. He was, doing his usual sort of slipping and sliding, daring him to hit him on the chin. And he boxed brilliantly. I mean, absolutely brilliantly. and Derek was getting a real shellacking in the fight, and I was saying to his corner, you need to pull him out, because he was behind, he couldn't win it, and he weren't getting any better. And in the end, I pulled him out, ran to the corner and stopped the fight, and he won. And after that fight, the WBO said that Klitschko would have to fight the mandatory, which was now Tyson. And I said to him, you will beat Klitschko. And I said to him, you definitely will beat him. My concern was, if the fight went on in Germany, would he get the decision? Because it's notorious that you struggle over there to get a decision. Anyway, the fight went ahead. We got involved in like a bit of litigation with Hennessy Promotions at the time, but the fight went ahead, and he went over there and done an absolute job. It wasn't the most exciting fight in the world, but what he did, he went there and absolutely boxed his head off. He never looked like losing a second again of any round. He's just he had such a smart brain. And the Klitschko's, they come across, and they are nice guys, but behind the scenes, I'm telling you, any trick you can pull, they will pull anything. I mean, they tried on the night, I think, with a canvas, if you remember. They made the canvas much more thicker than it should be. And the idea of that, obviously, is it's more spongy. And if you've got a guy like Tyson who's quite fast on his feet, they feel it's slowing him down a bit. And his team, quite rightly, wouldn't allow that to happen, and they changed the mat, the padding on the canvas, the mat, and he won the fight, and it was brilliant. And he came back here. I don't think he got the accolades he should have gotten for it, because he beat the best heavyweight of his generation by far. I mean, he beat everybody, Klitschko. And then obviously the wheels fell off. He had all these problems.
What conversations did you have with Fury at that time? Because it was incredible the success he had against Klitschko, but the wheels did come off physically and mentally. He went through his own struggles. What conversations were you having with him at that time, or was boxing just not on his mind at all at that point?
I had a conversation. I think I had a couple of little, messages backwards and forwards. And, because obviously any boxing news, you're reading it and you're watching it and you're seeing him photos with football fans. He was like the size of a house, put all this weight on. I didn't realise how bad what he was going through mentally. I could see he was boozing. I was obviously in this, you hear behind the scenes that he was out partying and so forth. And that obviously was now we all know, or we found out, was a terrible time for him. He'd become very suicidal, and he had that situation going on with UCAD, which was so poorly handled by UCAD. I mean, it's disgraceful the way they handled it, and the time they took to deal with it. It was a mess. And I think everywhere he was turning, Tyson felt being let down. He wasn't happy about his cut of the money that he got for the fight with Klitschko. He wasn't happy with quite a few things that went on behind the scenes, and that was all sorted out, I think, in due course with his previous promoters and managers. But he was low. He was low as you could be, and it was terrible. And I was hearing again through a few people what the problems were, and I think we had I can't remember when it came about. It was a call or somebody put him on the phone or whatever it was, and obviously we did hit off quite a bit, when he was boxing for us. I've got on really well with him, and I like him, and I do like him. He's a very smart guy. I mean, people think, he's not. He's right on the money, and he's got a very good sense of humour. But obviously, when people are suffering from the depression and the thoughts he was having, he's got that, that black cloud. And when people go into that blackness, when they get into that situation, it's a terrible, place to try and get out of, and how you motivate yourself to get out of it. And and again, it's well documented that he was in his car and he was thinking of crashing the car into the, off the motorway. And thankfully he didn't. But he had a good family. He's got a good wife in Paris around him, and he has got a strong family around him, and I think they helped him. But I think the penny dropped with him. He got a little bit of a flavour back for boxing. And he started training. I think he was doing a bit of training with Ricky Hatton's gym, I think it was. And it got a little bit of motivation going. I mean, he was about 11 and a half stone overweight. He was huge. That's Ricky Hatton's weight he was carrying around him. It's
incredible, really, isn't it?
Fighting weight, and he. I think his salvation became boxing, and I think what I mean by that, it gave him a sense of purpose, something to aim for. He never lost his titles in the ring. He vacated his titles. He really felt, in my opinion, he felt that if he's got, it's a terrible thing to say. I mean, he obviously got a family, he's got children, but it's a reason to do something, and I think that reason was to get back into boxing and win those world titles back. And we got in touch with each other. He said, "Can we have let's have a meeting?" So we had a meeting, and it was brilliant. He met him. Excuse me. He came down, I think, first time on his own. Then we met with his lawyer, Robert Davis, and it was great. He wanted to come in. I could see the enthusiasm was there, and I could see the size of him. And so he works out, said, like, we get you 3 or 4 comeback fights. It's not like sometimes, when a guy's out the ring, say, right, you have a comeback fight, you have one fight, then we'll fight for the world title. He was such a size, and he was carrying so much crap on him that, he needed those fights to keep training to get the weight off. So, right, fine, we'll do that, a couple of fights, we agreed that. Next thing, I've got to get it broadcast. Queensberry had a promotional deal with, and still has, with BT, so I'm going to take him into BT. They are like, they weren't in boxing that long, and basically they're a communications business, and they got into sport, and they had a couple of sporting people there, but it's just like a real different world to them, and it was quite amusing, for me. I mean, I'd do it every day, but it was quite amusing to see what happened. So we go in there, and bearing in mind there'd been some unsavoury things have been in the newspapers where Tyson, when he was in a bad place, said a couple of stupid things, and also, some of the things were taken out of concept. But I'm not going to be an apologist for it. It was what it was, and he was in a bad place. Muhammad Ali many years ago said some really terrible things when I was young, and I used to watch him. Real racist remarks. But he went on to be a humanist. He became one of the most loved sportsmen on the planet. In fact, he won Sports Personality of the Century on BBC in 2000. That's how he became. And people say things when they're younger, do stupid things when they're doing stupid things. Anyway, we went in there. So all that, bearing in mind, we go into this room. It's all a few of their executives and a couple of guys who work on the boxing. Most of them are not there now, and not because of Tyson, by the way. And we had the meeting in the office, and he brought along his mate Matthew, who's quite a wealthy guy, but he's a gypsy guy himself. And we're in the office, and we're negotiating, how much to pay. And I'm saying to him, look, you've got behind, you've bought into us. We're partners, BT and us are partners. With Tyson, I'm telling you, he will become world champion again. We can do this. This can happen. We want to build this station, BT Sport, as the home for British boxing, the best. We were investing in a lot of young talent as well at the time, and I said, in a few years, this is going to be the place to be. Especially for heavyweight boxing, we can do, this can be done. And I'm going on and on and on, and we're arguing about the money. And then suddenly Matthew, I've never met him before. First, he's quite a nice bloke. First, he just pipes in, "Stop effing about. Do you know who he is? This is what he should be getting." It was like, and I'm thinking to myself, imagine these guys having these conversations like with the Champions League and with the Premiership and all this, and there's this sort of business deals being done, and I found it hilarious because it was out, and they're like, "What the F's this all about?" Anyway, we did the deal, got him all sorted, got him what he wanted, and I said to them, "This is down to me, all of this is on my head. So I'm telling you, it'll be all okay." So that was great. So we announced the first fight back. I'm not going to top the bill with him. We weren't going to do that. Let's get him on an undercard, which we did in Manchester. He's never fought in Manchester before. Took it to Manchester. I think he got off about 2 stone or whatever it was. He was still a big, he's a big load of weight he was carrying on him. And he did what he had to do in the fight. I mean, it was what it was. I mean, the opponent was there just to get him some ring sharpness back. It was never, he was never going to be a threat to him. Then we did the second fight in Belfast on Carl Frampton's show at Arms, but the stadium there, open air stadium. It was great for him.
And Deontay Wilder was there as well, wasn't he?
Simultaneously, I was speaking with Shelley Finkel, who's his manager, and he was representing PBC, who was Deontay's promoters, and they asked me about the fight. And I watched a lot of Deontay Wilder's fights very closely, and I thought to myself, you know, we're talking about 3-4 fights, and I think he'd do the job. And he fought that guy. I can't remember who it was on the night. He fought the guy. He thought he won it. It was he done what he had to do. It wasn't the most exciting of fights. Deontay's there, and they obviously, like I would have done if I was in their place, thinking, right, this fella's undefeated, former world champion. He's a lineal champion. This is a good time to fight him. You know, he's a bit lumpy. He's not got the weight off. He's not got the rounds under his belt. He's been out the ring for 3.5 years or whatever it was.
Did you use that talk a lot in the negotiations to try and get that fight?
Yeah. I said, look, you know, I'm worried about him going off the rails. He may not be fighting next week. You know, I'm hearing all these. You know, you do what you do, don't you? It's a bit of kidology. You know, he's. I don't know where he is today. He was supposed to be in the gym, and I'm giving him all the. You know, pulling them in. Anyway, we got the fight. I got the terms agreed and everything, which was less than 20%, by the way. So we got the terms agreed for him, and in the end, it was. Then I said to Tyson, "Look, we can do this. What do you want to do to fight?" And he was like, and his dad said, "No, he's not fighting. He needs more fights." And I said to him, "John, I'm telling you, I fancy you can do this." In the back of my mind, I will be honest, I had a little bit. My only reservation was the weight. You know, we got the weight. That was my reservation. I said he can do this, and Tyson. We spoke again the next day, and Tyson said, "I want it," and I knew then that he would win it. I really did feel, you know, at that moment that then I knew. I really felt he got a great chance of beating this fella, because I felt that they would not take him lightly, but. What they think they're getting into, it wasn't going to be.
So that's part 1 of our exclusive interview with Frank Warren. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on part 2, which is dropping very soon.